There you go. All right, all right. Here we go, y'all. Live, baby. Yeah. We'll get it started. All right. Yeah, y'all hear that, don't you? That's funky, ain't it? Man, that's funky. Yeah, let's get it started. All right. Yeah. Yeah. Got the watch party. Mm-hmm. Invite y'all in. Yeah. All right. All right. I'm all in there. Uh-oh. Time for my theme music. Where we at? Uh-oh. Okay. Hold up. Oh, where the phone at? Oh, sicky. All right. That's all good. Okay. Well, this thing. Let me go like this. There we go. Now. Okay. Wow, theme music here. Come on, open up, baby. I gotta get my theme music on. It's time, y'all. All right. Oh, okay. What's going on here? Mama. Mama. Camera showing up here. So this confusing. Okay, it's not showing it to me. Like that. That's crazy. Where the folder is. Okay. Let's do this. Oh, this. Should be like that. So that. Biting there with me. Folder, where is it? Oh, come on. Come on, open up, baby. Okay. Shoot. Mama. All right, let's get it started. That's all right. I'm not talking yet, Dwayne. And I ain't taking the mask off. I see you, brother. Don't worry. I got you. We're ready to get them started right now. It's my theme music. Those of us that enjoy work with intellectual problems don't do so for pleasure. You want to share? You want to Brooker? You do so because yeah. My theme music. Good morning, my children of the sun. Welcome to WHGE 95.3 FM, the education station. I'm Patrice Gibbs, the host of The Open Eye. The third eye optometrist here to get it started. Oh, yeah, it's the 4th of July. What you doing today? Got something for you just in case you get confused about what you doing today. Yeah, I got something for you. You can believe that. Your third eye optometrist is not going to be your hanging. You can believe that. And as I always tell you, you don't have to wait until Saturday at 11 a.m. to tune in to WHGE 95.3. I know you can't wait to hit that open eye and turn this down some because I'm hearing it. Okay, that's all good. And yes, we are Facebook Live. Make sure you tune in, tell your friends, share it on your Facebook page. And if you don't get it all, at the end of the show, later in the day, I will upload us to YouTube. So make sure you like, share, and subscribe on the Open Eye channel on YouTube. Okay? Let's get right to it. I know a lot of you out there doing what you do. You had off yesterday in celebration of the 4th of July. Yeah, you got friends and families coming over and this, that, and the other for the barbecue. Don't forget, social distancing, that COVID is still out there, baby. Yeah, it's still out there, yeah. I know some of you running around wearing the red, white, and blue. That's right. I know that's what you're doing. But I'm going to start you right off with it. How many of you, by this time, by this day and age, that know anything about your history, about American history? Shame on you, and damn you if you ain't never heard of Frederick Douglass. Frederick Douglass, you know, a friend of mine told me yesterday, he respects Malcolm, because Malcolm X, Malik al-Shabazz, and his accomplishments. He recognizes Garvey was probably the coldest that ever did it. Yes, the Honorable Messiah Marcus Garvey, 4 million followers, built a movement where the media was pretty much a newspaper and his word getting out there word of mouth. Radio wasn't even on the level that it became in the late 20s. Talking about talking about 1919, 1920. This was the height of Marcus Garvey's movement. And he was able to attract 4 million followers worldwide with his message. But my friend said, Frederick Douglass impressed him more than any of them. Because Frederick Douglass taught himself to read. He was an autodidact. He taught himself to read as a black man during slavery. He escaped from slavery, he ran away. Yes, he was a runaway. He had help, of course. But he taught himself to read when he was enslaved. He would give the little bit of food he got to poor white kids in trade for their school lessons. This was how determined this boy was. We're talking about when he was 12, 13 years old. He was so determined that he was going to learn to read. And not only did Frederick Douglass learn to read, but he became one of our greatest orators. I mean, one of the, oh my God, the eloquence of this man. His words changed the heart and minds of millions of people. And what we learn from him cannot be discounted at all. Let me get right to it. On July 5th, 1852, Frederick Douglass gave a keynote address at the Independence Day celebration. 1852, slavery was still hot. And he asked, what to the slave is the 4th of July? Douglass, like I said, was a powerful orator, often traveling 6 months out of the year to give lectures on abolition. His speech was delivered at an event commemorating the signing of the Declaration of Independence held at the Corinthian Hall in Rochester, New York. It was a scathing speech in which Douglass stated, this 4th of July is yours, not mine. You may rejoice, I must mourn. In his speech, Douglass acknowledged the founding fathers of America, the architects of the Declaration of Independence, for their commitment to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Fellow citizens, I am not wanting in respect for the fathers of this republic. The signers of the Declaration of Independence were brave men. They were great men too, great enough to give frame to a great age. It does not often happen to a nation to raise at one time such a number of truly great men. The point from which I am compelled to view them is not certainly the most favorable. And yet I cannot contemplate their great deeds with less than admiration. They were statesmen, patriots, and heroes. And for the good they did and the principles they contended for, I will unite with you to honor their memory. Douglas states that the nation's founders are great men for their ideals for freedom. But in doing so, he brings awareness to the hypocrisy of their ideals with the existence of slavery on American soil. Douglas continues to interrogate the meaning of the Declaration of Independence to enslaved African Americans experiencing grave inequality and injustice. Fellow citizens, pardon me, allow me to ask why I am called upon to speak here today. What have I, or those I represent, to do with your national independence? Are the great principles of political freedom and of natural justice embodied in that Declaration of Independence extended to us? And am I therefore called upon to bring our humble offering to the national altar and to confess the benefits and express the devout gratitude for the blessings of resulting from your independence to us? Would to God, both for your sakes and ours, that an affirmative action could be truthfully returned to these questions. Then would my task be light and my burden easy and delightful. For who is there so cold that a nation's sympathy could not warm him? Who so obdurate and dead to the claims of gratitude that would not thankfully acknowledge such priceless benefits? Who so stolid and selfish that would not give his voice to swell the hallelujahs of a nation's jubilee when the chains of servitude have been torn from his limbs? I am not that man. In a case like that, the dumb might eloquently speak and the lame may leap as a hart. But such is not the case. I say with a sad sense of disparity between us, I am not included within the pale, glorious anniversary. Your high independence only reveals the immeasurable distance between us. The blessings in which you this day rejoice are not enjoyed in common. The rich inheritance of justice, liberty, prosperity, and independence bequeathed by your fathers is shared by you, not by me. The sunlight that brought light and healing to you has brought stripes and death to me. This 4th of July is yours, not mine. You may rejoice. I must mourn. Frederick Douglass, July 5th, 1852. I'm Patrice Gibbs. This is The Open Eye. On WHGE 95.3 FM. Loeb and I is brought to you by, sorry man, I'm on my phone. Loeb and I is brought to you by the Delaware Center for Homeless Vets, the founders and builders of the Borough Center, the veteran-specific apartment building. Delaware Center for Homeless Vets, changing veterans' lives all over Delaware.
The views and opinions expressed on Open Eye are those of the hosts, guests, and contributors, and do not reflect the policy or position of WHGE 95.3 FM nor our sponsor, the Delaware Center for Homeless Vets. Any content provided by Open Eye's hosts, guests, or contributors are theirs and are not intended to malign any religion, ethnic group, company, or individual.
Patrice Gibbs, the third eye optometrist, Dwayne Todd, thank you for your comments. Yes, indeed, the words of Frederick Douglass were indeed profound. You know, why is America, I saw this asked several times on Facebook. I'm on Facebook a lot, yeah. There's a lot of information there. Disseminate a lot of information there. Why is America offended by the initials BLM? For those of you who don't know, BLM stands for Black Lives Matter. I don't know how you didn't know that, but anyway. Why is America offended by the initials BLM and not offended by the initials KKK? I have to laugh when I read that, you know, because I understand that white supremacy and racism is so deeply embedded in America that when you protest against it, white America thinks you're protesting against America. That's how deep this is. See, the presence of black people is not the trigger for white rage. It is the presence of black people with ambition, with drive, with aspiration. The presence of black people who achieve, who refuse to accept their subjugation, who demand their rights. One of the ways that white rage works is that it cloaks itself in reasonableness. Sherry Bryson, my Facebook cousin, one of my faves. How you doing out there, sister? All right. I have to look over here and see what we got. Yes, indeed. Asked me to address reverse racism or the mythology of reverse racism, because that's what it is. It's a myth. There's no such thing as reverse racism. If you reverse racism, that means there is no racism. That's what reverse means. But of course, when white people say this, what they mean is that black people are being racist against white people. First of all, you have to understand something. You have to understand what racism is. Racism is prejudice plus power. And that's the power to subjugate, the power to deny, the power to oppress. We as black people are in no position to oppress anyone. Not at all. We are in no position to oppress anyone. We are in no position to deny anyone a job. We are in no position to deny anyone an education. We are in no position to deny anyone health care. We are in no position to deny anyone education. We are in no position to subjugate anyone. We are in no position to impose economic oppression. So reverse racism, as I said, is nothing but a myth. Stop it. You know, they play this game, white supremacy, white supremacists, that if you even mention even mention the subjugation, the injustice, the inequality that black people are suffering to this day, you're being racist. And unfortunately for some of us, it makes us back down. Don't back down. It makes us back down. Oh, well, you know, I didn't mean that you were particularly racist. Yeah. Somebody accused you of being racist for bringing up their racist crimes. They're damn racist. Don't back off of that. I'm going to watch my mouth on here. Yeah, that's word. Yeah. Now, let me see. I'm looking over here. Dwayne, Mr. Todd has some things to say. Hey, what's this here? He said, true to the point, my criticism of BLM is its alignment with Marxism. The irritated genie of Sufis has said much about the willingness of Black Lives leadership to allow black youth to be the vanguard of the Democratic Party, and no one race should be. Okay, look, let me say this. As far as the so-called leadership of Black Lives Matter, they are not the leadership of this current protest movement. The leadership is the code. That's why I always admonish people to stay on code. The leadership is the code, the unity, and the determination that things are going to change. Don't back down. Had someone say, hey, this is a while back. Wow, you know, appreciate what you do and you're a leader. And no. I'm a voice, a strong voice, a determined voice. But don't tag me with that leadership. I'm not scared, but you know what they do to our leaders. They kill them. And then they name a street after you. And the next thing you know, somebody be down on Patrice F. Gibbs Boulevard smoking pot and shooting off fireworks and what have you. So no, don't tag me with that leadership thing. I appreciate it, but no thank you. This is Open Eye. I'm Patrice Gibbs. Be right back. I turn that air down. So I'm still with you. Donna Lee, Charlie Barker on WHGE 95.3 FM, the education station. You know, it's something. White Americans have heritages they can be proud of. Irish, Polish, whatever. Be bold and be proud to be French even. Y'all have a past. You have a history. Some of your ancestors were Vikings or even British blacksmiths. Whatever. You can say those things. Now, black people in America don't have that luxury. We had our history stolen from us and have no idea what country of origin we have. And Africa isn't a country. Yes, I do wear the African pendant proudly, what have you, and I'm Pan-Africanist, but Africa is not a country. I don't know where the hell I'm actually from. So we get to be black. And we get to be proud to be black because whiteness erased our heritage. So when a white person asks, why can't we be proud? Why can they be proud to be black, but I can't be proud to be white? Because you're celebrating things like the erasure of black history and the violence and torture black people suffer at the whim of white America. So when you jump up talking about white pride, which you're actually celebrating, is the evil that white pride is. All right? joined by Nsoromma. What's up, brother?
Wagwan. Yaga, yaga.
All right. You know, we're getting it in. Got to give us some Delaware history, right quick, right? Okay, how many people in Delaware that have family members in the James T. Vaughn Correctional Center know anything about the history of the Department of Correction? I want to thank Brother Salih for this. Prior to 1964, prisons in Delaware were under the Department of Health and Human Services and overseen by a prison board operating as the administrators. James T. Vaughn was the last member of the prison board and became the first commissioner of the newly enacted Department of Correction in 1964. The problem is that James Vaughn was the local head of the Ku Klux Klan. And when ousted from the position after federal litigation, Vaughn ran for and won a state senator post in Clayton and went on to control the state prison system as chairman of the correction committee of the state senate. Thus, Delaware's prison system is rooted and steeped in racism. If you remember the controversy involving a Ku Klux Klan march in Newark, Delaware in the early 1990s, this is in your lifetime, in my lifetime, when the Klan used the Department of Correction buses. The name James T. Vaughn needs to be removed from the facility in Smyrna, Delaware. And these kind of truths that must be recognized if true change is to happen.
I mean, why do we still call them Ku Klux Klan members? They are terrorists.
Exactly.
And murderers.
Yeah.
Period.
That's what they are. You gotta fix that camera there, bro, because you ain't hit that. Okay, there you go. Yeah, like you said, they're terrorists and murderers.
Right, these terrorists and murderers that kill millions of black people. I mean, and they are in our governmental and our emergency and all aspects of our lives.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. You know, now, excuse me, during these protests and what have you, some people are getting fooled with some of this foolishness about taking down the statues and what have you. Doesn't mean anything as compared to the tangibles that are being demanded during these protests. No one is abandoning the demands that we are making as far as reforming police brutality and what have you. We're not abandoning that. But what we do understand is that symbols affect minds. Okay? The symbols, and you know what? I got to get to the sister. Ain't she beautiful?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay? Facebook Live, I want you to see her. Okay?
I left my phone home.
Man. You know, I know you are. Look. Now, the reason I show her and what I want you to notice is her skin tone. Yes, indeed, she is a light-skinned black woman. And she is a true daughter of the Confederacy, and she has written what should be the last word on monuments. Carolyn Randall Williams is her name. She says, I have a great colored skin. Let me say that again. I have a great colored skin. My light brown blackness is a living statement to the rules, the practices, the causes of the Old South. If there are those who want to remember the legacy of the Confederacy and they want monuments, well, then my body is a monument. My skin is a monument. Let that sink in for a second. The Confederates are honored all over this country with cartoonish private statues, solemn public monuments, and even in the names of United States Army bases. It fortifies and heartens me to witness the protest against this practice and the growing clamor from serious nonpartisan public servants to redress it. But there are still those like President Trump and the Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell who cannot understand the difference between rewriting and reframing the past. I say it is not a matter of airbrushing history, but of adding a new perspective. She says, I am a black Southern woman, and my immediate white male ancestors, all of them were rapists. My very existence is a relic of slavery and Jim Crow. According to the rule of hypodescent, the social and legal practice of assigning a genetically mixed race person to the race with less social power, I am the daughter of 2 black people, the granddaughter of 4 black people, the great-granddaughter of 8 black people. Go back one more generation and it gets less straightforward and more sinister. As far as family history has always told, and as modern DNA testing has allowed me to confirm, I am the descendant of black women who were domestic servants and white men who raped their help. It is an extraordinary truth of my life that I am biologically more than half white, and yet I have no white people in my genealogy in living memory. No, voluntarily. Whiteness. I am more than half white, and none of it was consensual. White Southern men, my ancestors, took what they wanted from women they did not love, over whom they had extraordinary power, and then failed to claim their children. You know, brother, not only did they fail to claim those children, but they sold them. Can you imagine selling your daughter and knowing that selling your daughter, she was going to be raped by another white man?
Yeah, brother. I mean, messy. Woo, to the 10th power.
I'm telling you.
You know, yeah. And then when we respond, we the ones that's the bad guy.
Yeah.
I mean,
what kind of
society that you live in where the good people is the bad guy?
Right.
I mean, it's only in America.
Yeah. This is how upside down this thing is. What is a monument but a standing memory? An artifact to make tangible the truth of the past. My body and blood are a tangible truth of the South and the past. The black people I come from were owned by the white people I come from. The white people I come from fought and died for their lost cause. And I ask you now, who dares to tell me to celebrate with them? Who dares to ask me to accept their mounted pedestals? You cannot dismiss me as someone who doesn't understand. You cannot say it wasn't my family members who fought and died. My blackness does not put me on the other side of anything. It puts me squarely at the heart of the debate. I don't just come from the South, I come from Confederates. I've got rebel, gray, blue blood coursing in my veins. My great-grandfather, Will, was raised with the knowledge that Edmund Pettus was his father. Pettus, the storied Confederate general, the Grand Dragon of the Ku Klux Klan, the man for whom Selma's bloody Sunday Bridge is named. So I'm not an outsider who makes these demands. I am a great-great-granddaughter. Damn.
So should we kill you for all the things he did?
No, because this is, she goes on to say, and I'm here to say that there is much about the South that is precious to me. I do my best teaching and writing here. There is, however, a peculiar model of Southern pride that must now at long last be reckoned with. This is not an ignorant pride, but a defiant one. It is a pride that says our history is rich, our causes are justified, our ancestors lie beyond reproach. It is a pining for greatness, greatness, if you will, a wish again for a certain kind of American memory, a monument-worthy memory. But here's the thing. Our Our ancestors don't deserve your unconditional pride. Yes, I am proud of every one of my black ancestors who survived slavery. They earned that pride.
And proud of the ones that didn't.
How about that? How about that? By any decent person's reckoning. But I am not proud of the white ancestors whom I know by virtue of my very existence to be bad actors. That's putting it lightly. Among the apologists for the Southern cause and for its monuments, there are those who dismiss the hardships of the past. They imagine a world of benevolent masters and speak with misty eyes of gentility and honor in the land. They deny plantation rape or explain it away or question the degree of frequency with which it occurred. To those people, it is my privilege to say, I am proof. I am proof that whatever else the South might have been or might believe itself to be, it was and is a space whose prosperity and sense of romance and nostalgia were built upon the grievous exploitation of black life. The dream version of the Old South never existed. Any manufactured monument to that time in that place tells half a truth at best. The ideas and ideals it purports to honor are not real. To those who have embraced these delusions, now is the time to re-examine your position. Either you have been born blind to the truth that my body story forces you to see, or you really do mean to honor the oppressors at the expense of the oppressed. And you must at last acknowledge your emotional investment in a legacy of hate. Either way, I say the monuments of stone and metal, the monuments of cloth and wood, all the man-made monuments must come down. I defy any sentimental Southerner to defend our ancestors to me. I am quite literally made of the reasons to strip them from their laurels. That was Carolyn Randall Williams.
Thank you, Carolyn.
Yes, indeed, a true daughter of the Confederate. A true victim. His family has been victimized. You know? And brother Todd, he must come on the show. I gotta meet this brother. Make sure you send me a friend request to Patrice Gibbs. And he says, I don't want to come and be seen as drawing away from your important work. Oh, really? I, as an Irish American, am painfully aware of the history of selling children into slavery and prostitution. British landowners starved the Irish with white slavery and took their children and wives for rent payment and food, so that renaming children might survive. It was no choice. Okay.
But it's not going on right now.
Right.
So that your history is really history. Our history is not history. It's now.
It's now.
So we're sorry for that, but there's no comparison.
None.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very, very much for your commentary.
And my thing is, okay, our history didn't start at slavery.
No, it didn't.
Why is it that's the only history that we have to talk about?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, as black people, this is the only thing that ever happened to us. No, that's not.
That's what they would have you believe.
Right. We were kidnapped, murdered, raped, and brought to another country.
Mm-hmm.
And when we got here, we were actually gullible, dumb, for the simple fact that we didn't know the language.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what gave them the opportunity to be able to put us in the position that we are in now.
To be able to divide and conquer.
Right. So it's about really just waking up and just knowing who you are and supporting, each other.
Mm-hmm. That's what it comes down to, bro. That's what it comes down to. Like you said, our history didn't start with slavery. And this ideal that we were slaves, Frederick Douglass, Martin Luther King, and the Civil Rights Movement. That's all they seem to want to talk about.
They're the only history, they're the only 3/4 people that black people have. Mm-hmm. Yeah, right. I mean, come on, man. It's just like it's so designed and so depressing that it's just ridiculous to me.
I heard that, brother. Words of Nsoromma on Open Eye.
WHGE 95.3 FM. Yeah. Yo, I couldn't get it together this morning.
Word?
Yo, it was like I'm still feeling groggy and shit. I woke up saying like I got up too fast. I said,
Yeah.
yo, what was your symptoms when you went to the hospital?
My symptoms?
When you went to the hospital and said the sugar was messing with you, what was your
Oh,
symptoms?
I felt woozy. I was real dry, dehydrated. You know.
You high?
Yeah. Like like did you eat anything?
Last night, 3 o'clock in the morning.
No. Well, yeah, that was one of the things. Like I said, I felt dehydrated. I felt woozy. You feel woozy?
I'm still feeling woozy.
Yeah, well, check it out, man.
I'm still feeling woozy.
Are you feeling dry, dehydrated? Are you hungry? You got an appetite? Okay, you ain't had no problem with that.
No, I ate last night some shit, some stuff in Wawa.
Okay.
And I went in the bathroom and made myself throw it up this morning. And I
Oh,
felt
you
better.
did throw up. You felt better.
Yeah, but now I'm still
like,
yeah.
You feel kind of weak?
No, I'm strong.
Okay.
It's just that how you
solid.
Yeah. I'm not me, feel like. But it seems like I'm coming back around now.
Okay.
That I'm talking and getting mad.
Yeah. Buddy.
Facebook, thank y'all for tuning in. You know what I mean? WHGE Radio appreciates everyone that listens and tune in and responds.
Yeah. And I see that he private messaged me, not to draw away from the thing. And I understand that he private messaged me.
Who?
But not
my man.
Wayne.
Wayne.
Yeah, it's all good.
It's all good.
Yeah, because we on open eye, Brady, and we talk about everything.
Right.
I ain't afraid of the truth, and I do my research. And what I do, you know what? WHGE 95.3 FM. I'm not going to go too deeply into this thing with debating about, what the British did to the Irish or what have you, okay? Because I am a student of history.
Right.
And I know your history too, all right? And what I do know about your history was when the Irishmen came here, they were overseers on plantations. What I do know about your history is when the Irishmen came here, and they did suffer, no Irish or blacks allowed. But what they did was when they were inducted into the army during the Civil War, they didn't take it out on the white people subjugating them. They went around and started killing black people. So I do know about your history, and I know about your history in Britain as well as on the shores of America. I do know that you became honorary whites and that you were able to surpass your the racism that whites had against Irishmen who they did not consider whites. I do know that the police forces and the fire departments are permeated with Irishmen who became
police officers, the firemen.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And are still there and are still some of the worst racists on the police force. So yes, I do know your history and I know what your people suffered. But I know what they did beyond that suffering. All right.
And today in 2020, you know what I'm saying, I really would like to hear of more solutional problem solving conversations that we can have to better our humanity in this America.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying?
Yes,
I mean, okay, yeah, things happen to us. Yeah, it's still happening to black people.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't want my kids to die over this racial war and this racial outburst that's going on between,
Yeah,
I would like my kids to have a future, and other people kids to have a future. So I would like to see a uh, attack on the solutions to what's going on, if there are any.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Because some people don't even want to recognize a solution for the simple fact they so caught up in their hate. You know what I'm saying?
I feel you. Now, one solution that is coming to fore
right
all over is police body-worn cameras. That funding is moving forward here in Wilmington. Mayor Pazicki, Chief Tracy, Council President Shabazz, and other members of City Council support budget amendment to fund the local match for the program. As part of a pledge by city leaders to support police and racial justice reforms, Mayor Mike Pazicki said his administration will introduce a $942,000 budget amendment on July 9th to fund a police body-worn camera program. Now that's good, okay? That's good. That's
right. That's and diversion. You know what I mean? I mean, the real source of the problem lies again in the justice system. We don't care about these cameras. We do, but we don't. We want these officers that perform these unrighteous and injustice acts to be arrested and punished.
That's right.
And have it written legally down in the
in the amendment.
In the amendments,
right.
That they get in trouble for going outside of the restriction of their authority.
Right.
I mean, that's not written. That's why these cops and these people are getting off. It has to be written like it is written for black people. You know, I mean,
you know, and which is
black and white, man.
Because what they're doing now in some of the states that, like in Minnesota, I think it is, they are removing the police immunity law.
Right. How you gonna have immunity?
Yeah.
You can kill whoever you want and then have immunity. But you're supposed to be protecting and serving.
Right.
And I'm working every day, my hard-earned money going into these taxpaying scams and schemes, and then I get killed, and I'm paying you to kill me.
Right.
Come on, man.
That's right. Paying for your own oppression.
I'm paying for my own oppression and my own death.
Right.
Yeah, right. I mean,
you know, now when cops, and this is one of the things that needs to be included with these body-worn cameras, when cops cover their badge numbers and turn off their body cams, anything they do after that should be considered a premeditated crime.
And also, if they do cut them off and they do that, shoot them. Period.
Yeah.
You're dealing with something else.
Yeah.
You're not dealing with a police officer.
No.
If you're not representing the police officers the way they supposed to be represented, shoot them straight like that.
No.
But I'm just saying, I'm not a killer or nothing like that. But you know, that's how bad it is. They just get out the car.
Out here against these race soldiers,
right?
And they turn their camera off,
right?
Rest assured, they get ready to do some dirt.
Exactly. They get out the car. They're not police officers. They are Ku Klux Klan terrorists.
That's right.
Period. 2 black people. I seen this thing today too. Not to jump off course, but a guy was standing at the a check place where, you know, if you live in Florida and somebody live in Delaware and they need some money and they send you the money, it's a cash
Cash App,
not Cash App, but they send it to the Western Union.
Oh, Western Union.
Okay, yeah, Western Union. So you know, the guy in Western Union went in the Western Union and said, "Yo, my name, boom, boom, boom." And so she's like, "It didn't get here yet. You can go outside and wait outside." And boom, 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 boom. Okay, he go outside and wait outside. And this is a black man. It only happened to black people. He went outside and was waiting, and he was walking around thinking, you know, and then some white person called the police on him and said, "We got strange activity." And the police pulled up, and first police pulled up, he got out the car, what's going on? And the guy has right to be anywhere he wants because he's a citizen.
Right.
Anyway, the cop said, "Yo, you ID." First of all, I ain't got to give you my ID. I ain't do anything. But anyway, the guy wasn't a bad guy. Okay, yeah, I'm waiting for my money to come. My sister sent it to me, and boom, here's my ID. This other cop come out, a race terrorist,
Mhm.
and he just walked up behind him, grabbed him up, slammed him on his head, started beating him up, put his knee in his neck. I mean, all of this went down in like 6 seconds. But yet, that's okay.
Yeah.
They say this is okay.
Yeah.
Now, if somebody out of the woods would have came out and blew the cop's head off that did that, how would they thought that person?
That's right.
I would have been, if I see somebody being messed up or beat by 30 cops or for nothing, and when you can just simply lock him up and what you call it, when you
arrest him or detain him,
right, using their words. You know what I'm saying? When you can either detain me or kill me, and you kill me instead of detaining me, you're not a police officer.
No.
Right, you're not acting in the legal force and authority of your badge. So now
yeah. Well, see, here's the thing. This is their culture, and I'm glad you brought that up, because this is their culture. Okay, and this is their culture.
Wow.
We're so deeply ingrained. All right. Here's the thing. Yes, there are some good cops. All right.
So why the good cops is not saying nothing to the bad cops?
Because here's what happens when you're a good cop.
Letting them not be represented as a bad cop. If you're a good cop, you won't let nobody represent you,
right,
as a bad cop.
Let me tell you what happens to good cops. Yeah. I feel you, brother. And this is gonna make you holler. All right, this is gonna make you holler. Because here's what happens to good cops. Okay, Carol Horn, fired for stopping an incident of police brutality. Joe Crystal, fired for reporting fellow officers for police brutality. Laura Shook, this is a white chick, fired for exposing corruption in her department. Shannon Lopez, fired for reporting an officer who was a sexual predator. These guys are committing all kinds. Sean Cannon,
yeah, man,
fired for reporting a fellow officer for rape. Fired.
Now, see, these people right here that were in these positions and got fired for speaking up, they should be the ones taking these people places that's these sergeants and these
dirty officers,
mayors. I mean, the leaders of the head of these corporations. These type of people are supposed to be running it and in position to make decisions because they have good character.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
That's right.
I mean, it starts with character.
That's what it starts with. That's what it starts with, brother. You know. And let me not leave out Regina Tasha, who was also fired for stopping. She stayed up, stopped an incident just like Carol Horn, white girl, white woman. Stop the incident.
Stop the cop from murdering somebody.
And they fired her.
See, that's what I'm saying.
Because this is their culture. And it's their culture so deeply that now that police reforms are being called for and enacted upon, a lot of these cops are quitting. Oh, we can't abuse black people, then we don't want to be cops.
Right. Now, every cop that has quit from that situation and from that saying, all of their cases should be reinvestigated and opened up. Now, you think of how many cases that'll be. I looked at a video the other day. It was about 200 undercover police officers throwing their handcuffs on the ground because they can't use the chokehold on a black guy.
Ain't that a blip? And so that's that mindset. That's the mindset. That's the mindset. Speaking of which, speak on this young man. Have you heard of Elijah McClain?
I heard a little bit of it, but
he was murdered. He was murdered. And it's probably, it was actually a few years ago. Young man, 23-year-old, very introverted, very gentle young man. Well, we'll leave it at that. Okay. He was stopped on August, well, it was last year. On August 24, 2019, police stopped him responding to a call about a suspicious person. Now, Elijah wore masks for comfort, as family and friends said he was anemic and got cold easily. And I know how that is. And he said, I am an introvert. Please respect the boundaries I am speaking. Elijah said that to the officers as they put their hands on him. All right. Here was Elijah's last words. I can't breathe. I have my ID right here. That's my house. I was just going home. I'm an introvert. I'm just a little different. That's all. I'm so sorry. I have no gun. I don't do that stuff. I don't do any fighting. Why are you attacking me? I don't even kill flies. I don't eat meat. But I don't judge people. I don't judge people who do eat meat. Forgive me. All I was trying to do was become better. I will do it. I will do anything. Sacrifice my identity. I'll do it. I'll do it. You're all phenomenal. You're beautiful. And I love everybody. Try to forgive me. I'm a mood Gemini. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. Oh, that really hurt. You're all very strong. Teamwork makes the dream work. And they killed him. They killed him.
Not only did they kill him, they got off. That's what have me so upset, dog.
I heard.
You heard me?
Yes, indeed.
That's what had me so upset.
Mm-hmm.
The justice and the injustice of this so-called justice,
Mm-hmm.
which is no justice.
Which is no justice. And I know how it makes some of you feel. You know, and that's why this is worth repeating. This has been said before, but like I said, it's worth repeating. So you mean to tell me that someone down your ancestry line survived being chained to other human bodies for several months in the bottom of a disease-infested ship during the Middle Passage, lost their language, customs, and traditions, picked up the English language as best they could while working free of charge from sun up to sundown, as they watched babies sold from out of their arms and women raped by ruthless slave owners? You know, imagine, if you will, that you're sitting at home in your community. Your sons are leaders in your community. Your nephews are builders in your community, architects. Your daughters are looked to for healing in your community. You have a society that is functioning on a level that is so beneficial to your people. See, this is before slavery. Slavery interrupted our history. And then all of a sudden, these people come show up with weapons that you don't have and didn't even think of using because your mindset is not about killing but building. Destroy your community and take those that they don't kill into slavery. So these ancestors took names with no last names, no birth certificate, no heritage of any kind, braved the Underground Railroad, survived the Civil War, to enter into sharecropping, learn to read and write out of sheer will and determination, faced the burning crosses of the KKK, and averted their eyes at the black body swinging from ropes hung on trees, fought in world wars as soldiers to return to America as boys, marched in Birmingham, hosed in Selma, jailed in Wilmington, assassinated in Memphis, segregated in the South. People you will never knew survived from generation to generation so you could succeed. So don't you dare let them down. Did this to your young people. And as Nsoromma said, don't just complain about what's going on. Bring us some damn solutions. And it starts with you.
That's right.
A glass that is full cannot hold more water. It must be emptied first. And remember, destiny determines who enters your life, but you decide who stays. Therefore, value those who value you, and don't treat those as a priority who treat you as an option. This is Open Eye. I'm Patrice Gibbs.
I'm Nsoromma. WHGE 95.3 FM. Yaga! I did it earlier. Oh my God. I would hate to be late. I don't understand that. I was like this during it.
Oh man. Hey, thanks for your comments, Dwayne. Top time. And thanks for joining us on Open Eye. I'm Patrice Gibbs.
Nsoromma. All right. Peace. Tune in next Saturday, 11 to 12.